The Miami Marlins open up a 6-game road trip here in Atlanta tonight. Max Meyer takes the ball for the Marlins versus Spencer Schwellenbach as the Marlins continue this stretch in April here, starting last series, 15 of 18 games against divisional opponents in April. The Marlins coming off a really kind of a tough luck loss to the Mets, 6-5 Wednesday night or Wednesday afternoon. Xavier Curry kind of sealing the deal for the team in extra innings. The Marlins getting a runner on third with nobody out, not being able to score late in the ball game, kind of doing the fish in that one. They lose that series to the Mets 2-1 in what is a rather competitive series for the Marlins. 4-3 overall this season. They start this crucial road trip on the road in Atlanta tonight against the surprisingly 0-7 Atlanta Braves, and they're just some really interesting numbers here when you look into what's kind of happening to the Braves this year. Obviously, we know the Braves are far from complete in their starting lineup. Ronald Acuna Jr. still seems to be recovering from that ACL injury. He still seems to be a ways away for the Braves. Jurickson Profar, we got the news earlier this week that he is going to be suspended 80 games for performance-enhancing drugs. And he was going to be a guy that the Braves were going to count on, specifically early in the season, to kind of help give them that production that they would be missing early on from Ronald Acuna Jr. So the Braves really kind of down two key pieces in the lineup. And it shows as a team, 14 total runs scored in their first 7 games, an MLB low 485 team OPS to start the season. This is where the Marlins have to take advantage of the Atlanta Braves. You have to catch their hitters before they get hot, because this is a Braves lineup that still features Austin Riley, Michael Harris, Ozzy Albies, Matt Olson, Marcelo Zuna. These still have a lot of thump in this lineup, even without Acuna, even without Profar, and the Marlins have to take advantage. It starts tonight with Max Meyer on the bump. Meyer gave the Marlins probably the best start of all their starters, first time through the rotation. But it's been a really impressive start to the season for the Marlins rotation in general, for the Marlins staff in general. 12th in baseball so far with a 3.44 ERA. That gets even better when you look at the bullpen. 7th best bullpen so far through 7 games at a 262 earned run average out of the pen for the Marlins. But the one thing that I will say coming into this series is I do not expect the Braves to remain winless after this. Spoiler alert. It's just not going to happen. They're too good to be kept down for all 3 games. But you come into this, you've got Max Meyer on the hill. He's got to take advantage of a scuffling Braves lineup tonight. The Braves are going with Spencer Schwellenbach opposite of Meyer. Schwellenbach, really strong rookie campaign last season, coming off 6 shutout innings against the Padres and their formidable lineup. So it's not going to be an easy task for the Marlins bats. And speaking of the Marlins bats, that's been an interesting topic this season. It's been a bit of a mixed bag as far as results go. The Braves will be throwing 3 righties in this series against the Marlins. The Marlins, after Max Meyer, a couple of to-be-determined spots. So not entirely sure what the rotation is going to look like there, given the day off yesterday, whether they still plan on going with Beozo and Quantrill, or whether Sandy is one of the guys that gets the call here against the Braves in this series, considering that he did mention he was tired after that first game versus the Mets. He only threw 70 pitches in that first game of the series versus the Mets. So hopefully the Marlins will get more clarity on the rotation following today's ball game versus the Braves. But the Braves, with them throwing out 3 righties, the Marlins are going to get a look at some of the better producing players throughout their lineup so far this year. It'll be an opportunity for guys like Kyle Stowers and Griffin Conine to get more at bats. Stowers, who has had a really solid start to the season, through 7 games, a 462 on base percentage. The eye at the plate looks vastly improved. He's been a revelation early on for the Fish. Griffin Conine as well. He's had a really hot game with the bat against against the Mets in this last game, the 6-5 loss in extras, 3 hits for Conine. Really came on strong in that Mets series in general for him, up to a 286 average on the season, OPS over 700 for Griff. So the Marlins will get the opportunity to have those two guys in the lineup on an everyday basis. Jonah Bride, Eric Wagaman kind of scuffling at first base, so I assume you see a little bit more Matt Mervis, maybe, and a healthy dose of Graham Pauley at third base, who had a rough series versus the Mets, but has been okay at third base all season long. Obviously, it's a short sample size, only hitting 235 to this point, but you have to have liked what you've seen from Pauley so far. I think if you're a Marlins fan to this point, but it's going to be all about taking advantage of the Braves while you can. This is when you want to catch them, when they are reeling early in the season, because there will come a time with this Braves team when they really get going, and the Marlins have to be able to take advantage right now. And it's going to start with the top of the order guys. Edwards, Otto, those guys have to get it going. Otto Lopez has been fantastic out the gate for the Marlins. He's been the team's best player overall, really, through the first 7 games with a 958 OPS and his signature fantastic defense at second base, showing off a little bit more power here in 2025, already with 2 home runs for the Fish, hit 6 all of last season in 117 games with Miami. Edwards starting to come on at shortstop, had a multi-hit ball game against the Mets in the final game of the series. He's a guy that is remarkably consistent. He had struggled through the first 6 games or so. You knew it wasn't going to last long with Edwards. Marlins are going to have to keep him going. And in the bullpen, the Marlins are going to have to maybe get a little bit more out of their starters here. It's been a lot of bullpen usage early on through the season, and while they've been good, you do question if they're going to be able to keep it up, if they keep up with the same strain that they've been getting on the bullpen. The Marlins have yet to have a starter go 6 innings in a game this year. Hopefully Max Meyer can change that tonight for the Fish, but that's not a winning trend for your bullpen as good as they've been. So this is going to be a really interesting series for the Fish here against the Braves. Starting off a 6-game road trip, it's going to be 3 here in Atlanta and then 3 on the road in Washington. Again, 15 of 18 games starting in that Mets series against divisional opponents. This is as big of a stretch of games as you can play in April as there is really for this team when you consider the injuries, not only in the rotation, but in the bullpen, in the lineup for the Marlins. 2 of their better players, more productive offensive players out of lineup for this team right now. One of the guys that they were expecting to be a breakout starter and build off of a really solid 2024 campaign, and Ryan Weathers is out. Andrew Nardi, the second lefty in a lefty-starved bullpen for the Marlins, continues to be out. He's going to be out for a little while longer, though, probably through the month of May with that back strain. But Veneziano has been really good for the Marlins, but he's the only lefty that they have in the bullpen right now. The Marlins are going to need to explore what they can do as far as getting another left-hander in the bullpen, whether that's maybe calling up a Josh Simpson, who's pitched well to start the season in AAA. But the Marlins, seeing 3 righties, 3 of the Braves, you're not seeing outside of Schwellenbach. I think you're seeing him. But the Marlins are going to see A.J. Smith Sawyer and Grant Holmes against the Braves here. And it's going to be an opportunity for the Marlins to build off of a solid start to the season and keep a divisional opponent down. I think that's the biggest thing here is you want to try to bury the Braves as far back as you possibly can, because everyone knows what that team can be when all the pieces are clicking, and how scary that lineup can be when it's all complete and everyone's clicking. But this is an opportunity for the Marlins to go win a series against a divisional opponent, get yourselves going, feeling even better about the start to the season, then going to Washington and hopefully being able to finish up the road trip on a positive note there. But the Marlins starting a really crucial series tonight. Max Meyer, Spencer Schwellenbach. Some of the big questions in this series here are, will the Marlins lefty bats in the outfield continue to hit? I mentioned Kyle Stowers and Griffin Conine. Those guys are going to have to be big in this series. As we know, Marlins manager Clayton McCullough likes to play the matchups. So you're going to get a healthy dose of those guys. You're going to get a healthy dose of Graham Pauley. But it's going to be the Marlins continuing to build off of what we've seen with the pitching staff. This is a Braves team offensively that has not been good to start 2025. Obviously, they're better than their numbers have been so far this year, but this is a team that's slumping, and the Marlins need to approach them as such with the pitching staff, and it's got to be a really strong performance for the staff, because especially tonight, I think the Marlins are going to be in for a rough night at the dish. So the Marlins continuing a road stand here, massive stretch in April. Marlins trying to continue and build off of some early season momentum. They did lose a series to the Mets, but I think it's a positive takeaway in general that they looked competitive in much of that series versus the Mets, minus that middle game where Cal Quantrill just kind of imploded in the fifth inning for the Marlins. But tonight, 7:15, Max Meyer, Spencer Schwellenbach. I will have an article coming up over the weekend on the first week or so, some of the really interesting notes for the Marlins through the first week and a half of games here on 5reasonsports.com. So be sure to check that out. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, like and leave comments. 5 Reasons Sports dropping all the best content on the Marlins, the Canes, the Dolphins, the Heat, the Panthers, you name it. It's South Florida sport. Inter Miami, you name it, they've got it. So like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to check out the Scouting Combine this week with Hussam and Coach Eric. We'll talk about it next week. I was unable to join the podcast tonight, but really good first round mock, all 32 teams. Just really interesting stuff, diving deep into, what the board could look like falling to the Dolphins at 13. So be on the lookout for that. Like I said, you can follow me on X/Twitter at Eric Wiedeke. Also, this, just like much else on the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel, is supported by Prize Picks, the best daily fantasy app out there. Just choose 2 players, over under on a given statistic. Use promo code 5FIVE for $50 in promo funds on your first lineup of $5 or more. That's FIVE. Thank you guys, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.